Hello, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Today, I have a speed build for you. My first speed build ever, actually. I want to do more of these from now on. I'm not the strongest builder, so I want to keep practicing and getting better at different kinds of builds. It wasn't that long ago that my Sims houses looked like shoeboxes with windows. This is the start of a series I want to do where I recreate locations from some of my favorite otome games in The Sims. I'm a pretty avid otome gamer. When I'm not playing The Sims, I'm curled up on the couch or in bed with my Switch playing visual novel games. There are a lot of locations I want to recreate to the best of my ability, so I'm really excited about starting this series. This speed build is inspired by the cafe from the game Cafe Enchante. A huge portion of the story takes place there, as it's where the heroine lives and most of the love interests stay. I will link the images that inspired this build in the description below, so you can check them out if you're interested. I relied very heavily on CC for this build, so unfortunately I won't be uploading it to the gallery. It also isn't playtested. In fact, I'm almost positive that this is not playable at all. I built this cafe in Windenburg in my Trials of the Zodiac save file, which is my story-intensive legacy I'm posting over on my Tumblr. I do plan on using it in future posts over there, but it's solely for taking screenshots and storytelling. I'm planning to make future builds all playable, so do keep a lookout for those. Anyway, I'm going to tell you more about Cafe Enchante. I'm going to read the synopsis of the game from its wiki page. When Kotane inherits her grandfather's Tokyo cafe, she discovers the shop holds more secrets than anyone could ever imagine. The cafe is a meeting spot for beings from multiple mystical worlds. You'll meet the king of demons, a humanoid beast, a fallen angel, and more. And when government agents monitoring non-human activities show up at your door, your new cafe is about to become a lot more colorful. I've played through most of this game, having completed the good endings for 4 of the routes. I still haven't played Mizir's route, so no spoilers, please. I also haven't gotten any of the bad endings yet, so I'm not sure how those are. I do plan on going back after I finish Mizir's route and get to the bad ends as well to unlock all the CGs. I'm just gonna take a minute during this voiceover to talk about my overall opinions of the game. Spoiler free, of course. I'm just gonna talk about my overall reactions to the different routes and opinions of the characters. I don't usually follow the recommended route order. I kind of just play otome games in any order I want. I do like to go into the games blind, so the first route I end up on is usually the one I would personally end up on if I were the heroine. In the case of Cafe Enchante, I played Ignis's route first, followed by Rindo, Eel, and Canis last. Mizir's route is locked until you play the other 4 and get the good endings, so he's not included on this list. The common route is very long. This game is a lot like Code Realize in that sense. I'm pretty sure it was made by the same company. The individual routes themselves are a little short. I do wish they were longer, but that happens with games that have long common routes. I do have to say that Ignis's route is my favorite of all of them. I have a major soft spot for tsunderes and characters who, despite being all angry and macho, get all flustered around the heroine. It's something I really enjoy. I was also pleasantly surprised by Rindo's route. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. His story was so intriguing and his romance with Kotane was adorable. Some people might not like that Kotane is in her 20s while Rindo is in his 40s, but it works surprisingly well. I enjoyed his route a lot. Il's route was alright. Not the best, but not the worst either. I was a little disappointed with it, actually, I'm not gonna lie. I guess I just expected more from it. Still enjoyed playing it, though. My least favorite, well, that was Canis. Canis is a headless knight, and, well, he has no head. His route had some cute and sweet moments, and Kenneth as a character himself is wonderfully adorable despite his appearance, but I found myself trying to just get through the route so I could unlock Miziers. I usually like to fully listen to the voices in otome games and visual novels, but I found myself moving on before the character finished more often than not in Kenneth's route. Kind of a shame. Alright, now back to the build itself. I added deco buildings on both sides of the cafe to give it a more street look. Since the cafe is in the middle of a bustling city, the cafe itself is small. I did originally make it a couple tiles bigger, but it just seemed too big for what I was going for. I wanted it to have a much more quaint vibe to it, the kind of coffee shop you go to regularly with your laptop. On the second floor of the cafe is supposed to be a garden. I struggled quite a bit with getting it to work in the game. In the end, it didn't. So there's no floor on the rooftop garden, and I just left it as the roof below. Again, it's not a functional build. As for the inside, the layout is rather simple. The bottom floor is the cafe with a kitchen and a small closet towards the back that holds the portal into the other worlds, which is part of the game it's inspired by. The cafe itself is very old-timey. I wanted it to feel like stepping back in time whenever you walk in. Or maybe like time stops for just a little while you're in there drinking your coffee, or in my case, hot chocolate. I don't actually drink coffee at all. The upstairs of the build has 2 bedrooms and a bathroom I left unfurnished. The bedrooms are inspired by 2 of the characters from the game, Kotone and Il. Kotone's room is girly with lots of pinks throughout it. Il's room is definitely an otaku's room. In the game, Il is obsessed with otome games and his room is covered in memorabilia. I wanted to go for that kind of vibe in the room, so I downloaded a bunch of new otaku-esque CC, which I actually really love, so I think I'll use them a lot in my builds where maybe 1 or more sims are otakus. I'm a big fan of build CC, especially alpha ones. I really like how realistic they look. That's definitely my kind of style. I do want to try building with only stuff from the packs too, though. The builds inspired by otome games will have a lot of CC, while the others I plan on doing will only use stuff from the packs I own. I don't own all the packs. I spend my own money on this game, so I don't buy any packs that I don't think I'll enjoy, and there are quite a few of them. I actually quite enjoyed this build. More often than not, I get frustrated with building and give up, but I pushed through this one and I'm finding that I enjoy building quite a lot. I definitely want to make more speed builds of all kinds. For this build, I had about 3 or 4 hours of footage, I think, and even cutting some stuff and speeding it up like crazy still made a long video. I hope you enjoy the build, even though it's a bit long. You know, I've been watching a lot of speed builds lately, and I've learned so many neat tips and tricks when it comes to building that I never knew before. I'm really excited to try those things out for myself. I've even made a Pinterest board for build inspiration. So I'm excited to recreate some of the houses on there. Any of the future builds I make that don't use CC will be uploaded onto the gallery for you to download into your games. I'm sorry for not providing any links to the CC used in this build. My mods folder is at least 80 gigabytes of disorganized mess, and there are some objects that I don't even remember downloading, so it's impossible to try to find any individual links. If you're looking for places to find build CC, there are a lot of great creators over on Tumblr and Patreon that you can check out. There are a lot of Patreon stuff that's free to download. I'm not a fan of exclusive custom content, so I would never recommend paying for CC. There are so many beautiful sets that you can download for free. I could go on a whole side rant about paywalls, so I'll stop talking about them here. Just know that I hate them, and that's all I have to say. Do any of you play otome games or visual novel games? If you do, what are your favorites? I mostly play otome games, but I also like games like Danganronpa, which I've been replaying on my Switch, and Deathmark, which I still have to finish. If you're a reader and not really an intense gamer, visual novel games are a good place to start. Those, Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, Sims, basically all the chill games. Those are the only things I play. Now, going back to the build, I had a lot of fun decorating it. I usually like doing the interior design of builds. What has always scared me about building was making the shell of the actual building itself. I like to think I'm getting better at it, and I'm so much less intimidated when it comes to building from the ground up. Literally. It does help to kind of look at floor plans and things online. You can find them all over the internet. It really helps bring out the shape of the home so that it doesn't look like a shoebox. You know, if you are also intimidated by building, I would recommend watching other speed builds here on YouTube. It really does help inspire, and it's nice to see how other people start their builds, and like obviously they end up looking beautiful, but they all start out the same on an empty lot. Watching those kind of made me feel like, hey, maybe I could do it too. And I know I'm not the best, but I'm hoping to get better. Building can be very intimidating, so watching tutorials as well really does help. Like there are so many things that I didn't know how to do until I watched tutorials on YouTube. It's actually quite fun once you get started and you have the shell and you kind of know where the build is going to go and it starts to come together. It's such a nice feeling. I think this cafe would be a pretty big hotspot in like a college town. I feel like in the real world, if it were in a city, I think a lot of college students would go there. They would do their homework there. They would basically live there. But in my head, since it's not exactly like the cafe from the game, in my mind, I was kind of thinking that maybe it's owned by an older sim and they've been working at it for many, many years and are just about ready to retire. They're like, get me out, I'm done. So they give their cafe away to their oldest grandchild, who is probably in their mid-20s, maybe early 20s, pretty young. But they're like, you know, you practically grew up here, you know the place, you know the people, take over for me. And I think at first the sim who gets the cafe would be very reluctant, like, no, I don't want to do this. I have other plans. I have bigger dreams. I want to go and study. I want to go travel the world. I don't have time to be shackled to a cafe. But when their grandparent suddenly passes away, they don't really have much of a choice, and they feel a bit guilty about getting angry with their grandparent right before they pass. So they do decide to be like, okay, I'll run it for a little while, maybe see if I can find someone who wants to buy it, I can sell it to, and then I can use that money to do what I want to do. But as time goes on, that sim kind of just finds themselves loving the cafe and loving the environment and the people who come, the regulars. They're not the best at making coffee, but they are practicing to get better. And, you know, maybe they even start up a little romance with someone that they hire to do the baking of the pastries and do the cooking and things like that. So they have even more reason to stay then. And I just think that that sim would never sell the cafe, never go travel the world, never leave, and they would just settle down there in the cafe and have their family there. Yeah, that's my little story for the Sims that might live here in this cafe or use this cafe, own this cafe, that kind of thing. Though it's not a playable lot. I will only use it for storytelling. Though I think it would be interesting to it's interesting to think about the kinds of Sims that would live here and would run and own the place, and even the kinds of Sims that would work here. I feel like they would hire some struggling down on their luck Sims, maybe some teenagers who just need a few extra dollars, and they would just become this huge, big family, and it would be a wonderful place to work, very warm environment, and no one would ever want to leave. And that's why they have so many regulars and so many people who are always coming back. Anyway, enough about that. I think I'm going to end this voiceover here. Please enjoy the rest of the speed build, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.